Sneako is one of, if not the most hated figure on the internet right now. But unlike other hated people on the internet whose relevance dwindled or just fell off completely, Sneako's relevance seems to be increasing since his initial cancellation. With someone being so hated, I thought it would be interesting to make a video acting somewhat as a lawyer for Sneako. But as always with criminal defense lawyers, what I say in this video does not necessarily reflect my own beliefs. This video will be formatted as if Charlie, aka Penguin Zero, is the prosecutor and Sneako is the defendant. We will go through each one of Charlie's points chronologically with the goal of clearing Sneako's name. The inciting incident creating the whole situation between Sneako and Charlie happened when Sneako reacted to one of Charlie's commentary videos talking about his friend Walter Weeks, otherwise known as Fresh from the Fresh and Fit podcast. The video is titled "The Most Embarrassing Alpha Male Ever." In it, Charlie talks about a video uploaded to the Fresh and Fit channel called "Pull Girls Easily." In Fresh's video, he talks about an experience he had meeting an NBA player at a bar, and through that player had the opportunity to get with 3 women in one night. Charlie clearly did not believe the story, as he would go on to say in somewhat of a joking manner that he believes Fresh is a virgin. When examining Sneako's response to this video, it's important to remember that he is close friends with Fresh. I think we could all agree it's pretty normal to want to stand up for your friends. So when Charlie was calling Fresh a virgin, Sneako naturally wanted to back up his friend and refute that. Now of course there's no way to know if this story is true, but I don't think that it's a stretch to say that Fresh lives the kind of life where something like that could happen to him. In Sneako's reactions, he would make several statements against Charlie. The most consistent one was that Charlie doesn't understand the life someone like Fresh lives. Sneako believes that Charlie has been brainwashed into believing monogamy is the only option for relationships, and because of this, he disparages Fresh, who doesn't follow the same philosophy as him. While trying to prove this point, Sneako showed a picture of Charlie and his girlfriend. While he doesn't say anything directly, Sneako is pretty clearly trying to insinuate something negative. Bringing someone's significant other into a situation they had no part in is definitely not right, to say the least, but it's somewhat understandable when you look at it from Sneako's perspective. Someone was saying something disparaging about your friend's personal life, so you disparage their personal life. The next point Charlie brings up is Sneako defending the film Cuties. To give some context on the film and why it was such a big deal that Sneako defended it in the first place, we'll examine its initial release in America and why it caused so much controversy. Cuties can be essentially summarized as the story of a young Muslim girl being introduced to the West and being consumed by the hypersexualized culture of social media. The film wouldn't actually create any controversy during its initial release outside the US. The firestorm began when Netflix purchased its international rights and they premiered it on their streaming service. Upon its premiere, Netflix would release promotional materials including a poster for the movie, but this poster was very different from the one that was used in Europe. It would be this poster that would start the train of negative press for Cuties. There would be an overwhelmingly negative reception to the film in popular culture, including in the YouTube space. Along with many other creators, Charlie would create a video bashing the film, talking about how it needlessly sexualized children. Sneako would then create his own video titled "I Have a Confession, Cuties is my new favorite film." In his video, Sneako would respond to the barrage of YouTubers making videos condemning Cuties, including Charlie, who he would specifically call out. Sneako would essentially take the side of the director of Cuties, Maïma Ducoré, making the argument that the director filmed the children in sexually charged ways to make the viewer uncomfortable. The intent of the director was to make the viewer come to the realization that it's extremely common for children to be sexualized on a daily basis. There's certainly a case to be made for both sides of the Cuties argument, and Sneako isn't alone in making a case for the film. The French Directors Guild called the huge wave of criticism against the movie a grave attack on the freedom of creation. The co-CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos, also addressed the controversy in a 2020 keynote saying, "Frankly, I'm surprised there hasn't been more discussion about the First Amendment implications of this film. It's a film I would argue is very misunderstood with some audiences, uniquely in the United States. I think it's a little surprising that in 2020 in America, we're having a discussion about censoring storytelling." The next point Charlie brings up about Sneako is that he's supposedly a cuck. He's not the only one to make this criticism, as it's usually the first thing most people will bring up when talking about Sneako. It originates back to a podcast Sneako did in late November of 2021. In the podcast, he would discuss the time he went to a swingers party with his then girlfriend, where she had sex with another man. It's generally understood that someone who is a cuck gains sexual gratification from the event, but it's clear in how Sneako tells the story that he didn't like it at all. But why would he attend something like this in the first place? Well, something a lot of people may not know about Sneako is that he was doing stand-up for a period of time, and comedy is a big part of what he finds important, with his motto even being "seek truth through funny." That being said, there was a legendary comedian named Patrice O'Neal who was actually a huge advocate for swingers parties.
Real swingers are good people, real respectful, real, hey, look, I ain't trying to do nothing funny with your girl. I mean, I know I'm f***ing her.
Like most aspiring comedians, Sneako was a huge Patrice fan, so he went to a swingers party because of Patrice's influence, but he came to quickly regret his decision.
Patrice O'Neal put me onto that. You're saying that was the best way to, that's what I thought was the best way to start an open relationship. Because he's saying that it needs to be fair, that if I'm gonna fuck other chicks, then she's got to be able to do it too. So I'm like, all right, let me be around it, and nah.
The next piece of evidence Charlie brings up is Sneako's soy boy collage. If you've ever tuned in to a Sneako stream before, you've definitely seen this long rectangular collage of people who are Sneako's quote-unquote enemies. All of these people had a combative interaction with Sneako online, or have made what we could call a hit piece video about him, with some even going as far as to advocate for his cancellation. Charlie criticizes Sneako for keeping this collage because he believes it shows Sneako is overly emotional, but when you look at it from an entertainment perspective, it actually makes sense why Sneako would incorporate a collage like this into his streams. There are two major reasons. Beef and drama create views and are undoubtedly more entertaining for viewers. Number two is that having a villain makes any story more exciting. The final point Charlie discusses is Sneako's involvement with a content creator named Brandon Buckingham. Brandon Buckingham and Sneako were what could most generously be called acquaintances. They had a pretty much non-existent relationship which was limited to an indirect collaboration and a few mutual friends. This would change when Brandon began the process of trying to find an opponent for an upcoming boxing match that he was a part of. Brandon was messaging a large number of creators to see if anyone was willing to fight him, and Sneako was included on that list.
He kept asking me to get into a fight, and I said, like, bro, I don't feel like doing it. And then he says something like, yo, I've been watching the streams, keep it up, keep doing what you're doing. And then, I liked his message, and I said, why you on my dick? A joke. And he takes it seriously. And he posts like 6 Instagram stories and paragraphs. I'll be in New York City, July, Sneako. Come watch me lick shots on your busted ass girl. Whole gang, bro, now he's saying the whole gang is gonna run a train on my girlfriend.
A few months later, Sneako would refer to Brandon's response as quote-unquote threatening to R-word his girlfriend. While Brandon's reply may not have been literally threatening R-word, it's not too much of a stretch to see how Sneako came to that conclusion. With any case as controversial as this one, you might assume that it would never be settled, but Charlie did something that no one was expecting and actually talked to Sneako. They debated and came away with a mutual respect for one another that they did not have before. It speaks highly of both Sneako and Charlie that they were willing to listen to each other and see one another as humans, not just internet personas.